I am thankful for completing all of the introductions, Lakshmi. I heard it. Just setting the stage for today's discussion. Most of us as women have always had a lot of aspiration and dreams, but some of these dreams take a backseat when it comes back to, taking care of our personal lives or balancing out personal and professional lives. This is something that all of our speakers today have dealt very well. And we are here today to understand from them how well have they adopted discipline in their lives. What did they do more than discipline, the grit and determination in getting things done, and how well did they balance both of these professional as well as personal lives and being successful in doing both so well.
Talk about uh, the most important quality that has been there, and I think most of us women have, is that of resilience. Um, Sharing a bit about myself, I was born premature uh, in a village at home, and that's in the north of India, the hills. So just imagine, my mother was very young, and I was born in the very, very beginning of the seventh month. So even now, if you see with all the kind of medical facilities that you have, that's very, very critical. And so the fight, I think, started from there for survival. My mother did not give up on me, and I think that's one value she has instilled in me and my siblings, and we have lived by that. Uh, so I had very delayed milestones. I never crawled, it seems. I used to be just sitting in one place, and one fine day I just got up and started walking. Or my first tooth popped out somewhere when I was close to 1 year. So you can imagine the kind of delayed milestones that I've had. But the moment I think I was two, there was no looking back. I was one of the healthier child, and I did well in my studies. So that's how it's been. So many times I've fallen, but then I know how to get up and pick up from there. And all of us, every lady that I have spoken to, every lady's story that I have done for IWH, something that has come about from everybody is their resilience. And that is something I salute in each one of you. Number two, I would say, is making choices. Whatever choices are offered to you, picking up one of them is a great quality, and also something not every woman can do that. Especially in the kind of society that we live in, I think women would not be given uh, the privilege to make a choice, right from uh, the kind of upbringing they have, the school they are sent to, or the person that they marry. Also, I don't think there is a lot of choice still, because I've traveled around so much. I've met people from villages, and when you listen to their stories, I feel we are so very privileged that we are able to make these choices. The choices that I made at the in 12th standard. I was through with engineering. I'd got through mechanical engineering. I was through with MBBS, and I got through hotel management. And I chose hotel management. So I'm thankful to my parents for allowing me to be, because maybe had I chosen the other profession, I would have been a complete misfit. So that choice they allowed me, and I'm grateful to them. So each one of us, life throws so many situations at you. Every situation comes with some challenge, and but picking up what feels right at that moment is the key. So be it, I've been with one of the best hotels. I left that to join academics. I've been one of the top catering colleges. It was a government job that had pension and security and whatever you want to call it. I gave all that up to join a hotel school that was just starting, because I felt that was the right choice at that time. And no regrets, because wherever I have moved and whatever I have done, those places have added a lot of value in my own life and my learning. Number three, I would say, is focus on your learning and upskilling yourself. Learning is a constant process, and that should not stop. For us, when I studied hotel management, it was a 3 years diploma program. And if you had to do higher studies, you needed to have a degree. So, like some of my batchmates, I also enrolled for a degree program from Mumbai University by correspondence. So when I graduated, it was a hotel management as well as a BA sociology. And after that, there was no stop or looking back, because every time I had an opportunity, I enrolled for a course and learned things which would help me in my professional life. For example, I was teaching at the catering college and I was teaching tourism. So without knowing tourism and teaching students, I felt there was a gap. So I enrolled for a master's in tourism management. I was handling training and development. So I did my master's in training and development. So it has always added, be it right from these little courses to professional courses to even going to Cornell. And now during lockdown also, I enrolled for a couple of courses that I really wanted to learn. So there's absolutely no time, age, or situation for you to learn. That has to happen constantly, and it keeps you active in all faculties, your mind, spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it. So that's something we must continue doing. Move with the times. Times change. My generation belongs to, in fact, we have seen the biggest changes in the sense we've seen when things are all manual, and we've seen the digital age. So the transition happened during our time. The moment we were building our careers, that's when the transition happened. And we have moved. So no matter, today we are in lockdown and things are moving. So change is something we need to keep adapting and be flexible for it. So flexibility is a very, very strong quality, is what I strongly believe in. Because at the catering college, in fact, Mrs. Sule used to lead the college choir that would say, enter to learn, go forth to serve, and serve with pleasure, one and all. They would say, we change with every season and time. And that change is instilled in us. No matter what the situation, we are adaptable and we change with that. Also, we say, these are the mantras, but then personally, what have I learned in the last couple of years is your well-being and your happiness is most important. Again, I would give a lot of credit to Mrs. Sule, because I regularly talk to her. So whenever I'm in a phase when things aren't too good, she's the go-to person, and from her, I learned that it was important for us to take care of our own well-being and happiness. So let me share a little bit about this. This is my area of extreme interest. In fact, I did a course on the science of well-being and the science of happiness and those kind of psychological courses. So if you ask a person, what is it that will make them happy? Chances are you will hear from them, they would say money, or they would say grades, or maybe great body or physical appearance, or they might even say a great relationship. Actually look deep into this, and there are researches done to prove whether these are the parameters for your happiness. And first one, for example, I was talking about money. So when they asked people the salary that they were drawing, somebody who was getting around 30,000, he was asked, how much of money do you think will make you happy? What should be your salary? And the people said it should be around 50,000. And when a person who was getting 1 lakh of salary was asked, what will make you happy? And what is the money that you're looking for? Person said 2.5 lakhs. So it doesn't matter how much you earn, it will never ever be enough. Because you keep moving a level higher in status, and you would want to match up with the people who are there. So that doesn't become a criteria for your happiness. Second one, let's say grades. Even among us, there will be somebody who was a 95% or more. I'm talking about 12th standard or 10th. But 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, those marks do not matter. What matters is what did you do with your life? So somebody who's just about 45 but then has done wonderfully well, led a balanced life, more meaningful life, will make sense than someone who was a 95%er but then did not really know the right choices to make and ended up miserably. And also, research has shown that people who are not very happy with their body types, going to the extreme of even plastic surgery, uh, when it was followed up, they were all found to be heading towards depression. The signs of depression were a lot more in these kind of people than the others. So even your physical appearance is not something that's going to give you that happiness. Relationship, sometimes we say that you should be married or you should have a partner. It seems if you're a single person or someone in a relationship, only the first 6 months might be different. That's the honeymoon period. And after that, everybody is at almost the same level. So even that is ruled out. So, what is it that would give you the happiness? One is to take care of yourself, your well being, your mind, your soul, your spirit, whatever we are talking about. And for your body, what you need is sleep. And how much of sleep? They say about 7.5 hours of sleep is very good sleep, which I don't think all of us have the luxury of that. But then you must not have less than 5 hours of sleep, because that can be very, very detrimental. So, sleep, then comes exercise, 30 minutes of exercise, and 30 minutes of meditation. Meditation does not mean that you sit in some kind of a dhyan and that mudra and do, but then it could be just, concentrating on your breathing and paying attention to your thoughts. So that's all you need to do. It can start with maybe 5 minutes, go on to 10, 15, and if you're able to reach 30 minutes and being able to use all three of them, that does a lot of good to you. And I have done it myself. I was, during my pregnancy, I developed hypertension and I was on medication. So I was able to give up on that by just doing these things. So whatever I'm talking today is not from the books or so, but something that I have used in my life and something that has helped me. So someone who is on hypertension medication and not taking any now, this is what has helped me. And so maybe, different things work for different people. Everybody does not have the very same set of things that will help them or keep them happy. Also, what I read in my course in the science of happiness, it spoke about a few things. Like it says, we need to savor. Savoring is a great quality. Savoring is enjoying whatever you have at that point of time. It could be just having an ice cream. Savor it. That adds to your happiness. Also, kindness. Random acts of kindness. When you do things for others, that increases your happiness quotient to a great deal. Also, gratitude. Gratitude is a very, very positive feeling. So when you're thankful about whatever you have, I think you get more opportunities to be thankful about. And being in the flow. So you must understand what is the flow for you. Flow comes, all of us have a passion. Some of us know what our passions are. Some of us don't know what it could be. So the moment you get into something which you really enjoy doing and you lose track of your time or so, that is known as flow. So if you can, it could be, for example, some people like crafts so much. So they get into drawing something or sketching or painting or so, and they lose a track of time. And that adds to your happiness. In fact, lockdown has shown us how a lot of people have got into different kind of hobbies and passions that they have followed, and because that has also helped them cope up with the situation, at the same time adding to their happiness. And what also adds up is your social connection. IWH is purely a social connection. I think it has brought about happiness. It has brought a lot of happiness to me, and this platform is even taking it a notch higher. And the final thing from me that I feel is necessary in our lives is having a balance. Let me be very, very, in terms of money and time, you need to have a balance of both of that. Affluence has to be there, but you also need to have time affluence. And at this moment, the lockdown has shown us the importance of time affluence. We may not have so much of money, but we have the time and with the family, and that is creating happiness. So, Shubhra, this is all I feel has been the things which have guided me in my life.
Uh, Actually, I was pretty scared when Lakshmi told me that I would have to. She asked me to come on this forum. The reason is I'm not such a good speaker. I'm a good doer, but not such a good speaker. And sandwiched between two ladies who were so eloquent, I really felt extremely inadequate. So I thought I'd just share with you all what are the things that helped me in my career and helped me reach where I was. I started my hotel management studies in 1966 when the college had just opened its new campus at Cadet Road. Before that, it was at Andheri. Uh, so, one of the things that helped me was self determination. Because at that time in 66, very few people knew what hotel management was about. I know I used to have, my grandmother was with me and she used to have friends, old people, and say, what is your granddaughter doing? Hotel management. What will she do in a hotel? Will they only clean rooms or cook in a hotel? Is she going to become a cook? uh, why can't she should have done her BA and she could have become a good secretary somewhere, because to people at that time that was the ultimate, you're the secretary. So determination to do what you think is right and follow what you feel you want to do is important. Because like Lakshmi said, had she gone into engineering, possibly she would have made a bad engineer and been unhappy. Whereas she has taken this career which has helped her to bloom so well. Uh, the other thing which to me was very important and which, as Avril rightly said, Miss Phillip had put it into us, drilled it into us from our first year, is self-discipline. Because unless you are disciplined yourself and you follow a disciplined way of life, you cannot expect others to be disciplined. And you cannot expect discipline from your juniors, your colleagues, unless you display that discipline yourself. It holds you in great stead, especially at times of trials and tribulations. For example, many times in the touch, the last, say, during the 26/11 attack, it was our self-discipline that helped us manage the situation, help people go through the whole thing. A latest incident with me, which self-discipline paid off, was last month I tested positive for COVID. I consulted with Beach Candy Hospital, and it's quite possible that, in spite of all the precautions, I may have got the infection there. So 10 days in hospital and then 14 days in complete self-isolation. At that time, it's only discipline that helped, because you're all alone in the room for 14 days. The only contact is with people over the phone or over a video chat. But you need to be able to survive those 14 days without getting into any form of depression or being, upset about it. So what helps you is your discipline. I had set up a routine for myself wherein I would read for some time. I would read e-newspapers. Then I'd watch some video. I'd do reading exercises. I'd do stretches. So I would keep walking up and down in the room. I used to still manage to clock in 5 kilometers in a day in the room, walking. But it's very easy when you wake up one morning to think, forget it, I'm not going to do any of those things today. I'm only going to watch Netflix. So self-discipline, I found, helped me a lot in times like this to be able to get through the day quickly, and then it's night and tomorrow is another day and you're coming closer to the end of your lockdown. Another thing I find is self-motivation. People always expect that someone will motivate them. Oh, my boss didn't recognize me, I did this, but wasn't recognized. But don't you get the joy of having done something well for yourself? That is what you should look at, and be self-motivated to keep doing something different, to keep achieving higher levels. So for me, self-motivation was a very important aspect. I also found that it's necessary to master every task. So, of course, as you go up the ladder, you can't have the expertise of each and every department or each and every area. But when you first start, you should be able to master everything. Because when you are able to do something yourself, you can then tell your juniors, if somebody was to say something, you can say, okay, you move on, I will do it and show it to you. And that's how you will then earn the respect. But as you go up the ladder, it's still necessary for you to know what's happening in other departments. What is it like? My field was always film language. But as a general manager, it was very important for me to understand what is the front of the system. If a new computer system or hotel operation system is being installed, I may not be an expert in it, but I should know what are the features of the system and what needs to be done. Like Laxmi said, I believe in continuously updating your knowledge. Today's generation is extremely lucky. When we were studying and when we started working, there was just nothing available. You tried to scrounge for magazines, you tried to scrounge for books and some information. And it was all if someone brought something for you or if you happened to go abroad and you got some details. Today, everything is available on the net. But you need to be able to read, you need to be able to spend time to access. One thing which I have always found very useful is to make a note of something I'm reading or I hear which I don't know, and then look it up on the net. There are so many things that you come across and you're not aware of what it is. So rather than just let it go, make a note of it and then look it up as to what that means. It could be a word, it could be a process, it could be a new something completely different. But don't try and look it up and learn, because that just helps to broaden your horizon. Newspapers. Most people now never read a newspaper. I'm still one of those old-fashioned people who love, in spite of a Kindle app or whatever, to have a hard copy of a book or read a newspaper. And I used to tell all my colleagues and all that read what is happening in the world. In food and beverage or in the hotel, many times you're left alone with a guest and you need to strike up a conversation. So suddenly if a guest starts talking about football and you have no clue that World Cup football is on because you are not reading the news or anything, you will never be able to talk to the guest at all, and you will just have to slowly say, excuse me, and go away from it. So update yourself on current affairs, what is happening in the world. You need to discuss politics, but you must be aware of what is happening. As hospitality people, one thing is very important, and that is to develop an eye for detail. And an eye for detail is so important. It's not that you are born with an eye for detail, but it's something that you slowly learn to develop. You pay attention to what is happening. You pay attention to, say, a restaurant. How should it be? What is amiss over there? What is out of place? So you slowly must learn to develop an eye for detail. As a hotel person, it's very important to know your people. People on both the sides. You must know your guests or your visitors or whoever it be. In the olden times, we didn't have computers, but we had people who knew at least 200 guest histories all in their mind over here. I had a colleague, I'll tell you, in front office in the Taj. Her name was Maya Katikara. Some of you may have heard of her. Maya knew at least 200 guests by name, by choice of room, by choice of food, what papers they wanted, everything about the guest. So the minute a guest came in, she would be there. Hello, Mr. So-and-so, so-and-so, and she just knew everything. There were no computers. She was the human computer. A few years later, Maya had left the Taj and then she joined Jet Airways as guest relations at the airport. And I used to see Maya, she would suddenly peep out this way and look out and wave and say, hello, Mr. So-and-so, come, you're traveling to Delhi, I think, come, this is the line, we'll check you in. And people used to be so thrilled to be recognized at the airport. Today, everything is available on the computer, but unfortunately, we don't use it. People don't bother to look up the data of who's coming in, and what his wants are, what his needs are. So while we have all the information, we don't make use of it. So do try your best to know who your guests are, what do they want, what are their likes, dislikes, and then you will know that you will make friends for life. Similarly, on the other side, you must know your colleagues and your staff who's working with you. What do they need? What are their family problems? Who's there in their family? If they've had an issue, remember that so then the next time when you meet him, you can ask him, how is your mother now? Or how is your wife? That she had delivered the baby, how old is it? You know, so that person then feels wanted and person will then do anything for you. Learn to have a respect for all your colleagues. However small the person may be, the task that that person is doing is important. It could be someone just cleaning the room, or it could be the chef. But whatever they are doing, they are contributing to the success of your property and to your guests. So make sure that you respect all of them. And remember that no task is too small. All of us in catering college, at least in our times, we started by scrubbing the whole college floors and cleaning all the windows. The entire college was cleaned by us. We made beds, we did everything. So there is dignity in whatever work you do. So respect anyone doing any kind of work. One thing which I found very useful, and all my colleagues, especially in Taj Bengal, used to tease me for it, is to make notes. See, at that time there were no smartphones, there was nothing. So as you walk, or in your room, or in your office, always have a pad next to you, whereby you can quickly make a note of something which you need to do, something which you need to check, something which you have to ask someone. Make notes, because we think we can remember, but down the line, 10 hours later or 20 hours later, you will not remember. Then you say, what was I doing? It will also help you to manage your time better, because you have all your points. Today on your smartphone, you can just dictate all these notes and then keep removing them or taking them off as you have completed them. So there they used to always tease me that now ma'am will come up with a small slip of paper on which she'll have written points and she'll be asking us about these things. So that was the way that I found that I was able to utilize my time much better. Another thing, because I think of computers, people tend to sit and spend a lot of time in the office. In our times, because computers were there, but computer was basically only for your hotel system and not so much. Till 98, when I came to Mumbai, there was no internet and there were no emails. The first time in Bengal, just before I was leaving, we got an email address which was not less than, I think, 3 lines long, through BSNL, through something. So it's called management by walkabout. Walk around your property, walk around your organization, see for yourself what's happening, meet people at that time, and you will find that you will be much more aware of what is happening in your property than if you were sitting in your office and waiting for people to inform you about it. As you grow up the ladder, learn to become a mentor to people. There's no joy bigger, I'm sure Avril will say, agree to that, than seeing people who you have mentored do and grow in their own careers. So help people to grow. Share knowledge. Knowledge will not decrease if you share it. In fact, it will just multiply. So do keep sharing knowledge and share information. Another thing my guys always used to tease me is they used to ask me, why are you telling us so many things? Suppose there was a conference and I shared all the details. My point to them was always that suppose I was to drop dead tomorrow. Everyone must be aware of it. So share any information that you come across which is interesting, anything, the article that you may read. You know who are people who may benefit from it, share it with them. Lastly, I would say push for excellence. Do not be satisfied with just the basics. I have been very fortunate and lucky to have interacted very extensively with Mr. J.R.D. Thakur. And one of his sayings was that if you want excellence, you must aim for perfection. Because only then will you aim for perfection will you reach excellence. He says that it has its drawbacks, but being finicky is essential. So do not accept a chalta hai attitude. I find that, and personally I find it very irritating when people do not phrase emails properly, or even a WhatsApp. If it's a WhatsApp amongst friends, it's different. When people send a work-related WhatsApp, you don't use punctuations, you don't use the correct sentence or correct grammatically, the English is incorrect. No, it's still that, oh, it's just an email. How does it matter? No, it does matter. So please be careful about it. I'll tell you a story which has always stayed in my mind of a Japanese company. And this was shortly after World War, when Japan was rebuilding itself. An American company ordered some equipment and some parts from a Japanese manufacturer. And Americans wanted to show they were superior, and they said that, introducing all the Six Sigma principles, they said, we will not accept more than 6 defects per million parts that you send us. So when the consignment came, they saw there were two. One was a very small packet and one was the main consignment with a letter saying that we have done what you wanted, but we could not understand your requirement for 6 defective parts. So we have put those 6 defective pieces separately and the 1 million correct pieces separately. They were so particular. They were so particular about quality. So therefore, please push for excellence and quality. Besides this, like Laxmi said, do make time for yourself. It's very, very important. Carve out time, maybe morning, afternoon, evening, when you just have time for yourself. I find for myself, I'm extremely lazy when it comes to exercises. The only exercise that I do, which I love, is walking. And when I walk normally in the morning or in the evening. When I was working in Taj, I used to walk in the morning. 5:30 I used to go for a walk. And I found that walking helped me to clear my mind. It helped me to think at that point in time. It helped me to understand what needed to be done. So take time for yourself. Look after your health. I'm particular about what I eat. Very, very particular. Luckily for me, I'm not fond of very spicy or fried food, so all that. Which is why it helped me a lot also to recover from my illness very quickly. So make time for yourself. Be grateful for what you have. And I personally find joy in a lot of little things. As I walk, I see a butterfly and it just gives me a lot of joy. People think I may be mad, but if you suddenly see a beautiful blue colored butterfly, it's so beautiful, it just lightens my spirit. Or a little flower peeping out from nowhere. So find joy in all the little things that are there in life. Because I'm talking to an audience of ladies and all of you are in the hospitality industry, I'd also like you to know that now I am very closely and very deeply involved in the redress of sexual harassment of women. I'm on the committee as an external member of about 12 companies, and every company has to have a committee for defense of sexual harassment, and there has to be an external member who's supposed to be a knowledge expert and also brings a completely unbiased view to an inquiry. So I work with about 12 companies. Please be aware of what constitutes sexual harassment. Don't keep quiet. If you feel you're being harassed, speak up. I'm sure in all your organizations you have a committee. Speak up. If not, you can go to your HR and find out from them. Because sexual harassment can be extremely detrimental mentally, physically. It can bring a person down completely. So do speak up, and at any time I can be of any assistance to anyone. And if somebody has a problem, somebody wants to discuss and wants to know whether it constitutes sexual harassment or what they should do, I'd be more than happy to help. I think I have said everything now. Shubhra?
Share my screen, because this is how Sule ma'am would like to introduce herself. Let me just show it up for you. Yes. Sule ma'am?
Right. Can you hear me, everyone? Yeah, Shubhra, you can hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I'd like to introduce myself with a song that practically soundtracks my life. This song is, I think, Shirin Batliwala. It's a Creedence Clearwater Revival song called Have You Ever Seen the Rain? And one of the lines says, have you ever seen the rain coming down a sunny day? And this song actually was written by the group at the time when they were at the height of fame and fortune, but they were all very unhappy and very depressed. And finally, the group broke up a couple of years later. That's been the soundtrack of my life. Every time something really great was happening to me, it was these underlying moments of sadness going running alongside. So, having said that, let me tell my story. First off, I don't really know, it's somewhat ironical that I'm here talking about discipline. I think as a child, I gave my mother much grief because I never followed anything that was the norm. And she, unfortunately, was a teacher in the school where my sister and I studied. And perhaps that's where the discipline thing all started. Because you have your sister who is the house prefect, you have your mother who is a teacher, and you have your cousin who is a nun in the convent which runs the school. So if you didn't abide by the rules, the sky would have fallen on your head pretty much. So that's where it must have started for me. I'd also like to think of my dad as one of the people who gave me the two rules of my life, perhaps. One was about telling the truth. He would tell us stories of people whom he worked with who cheated and lost their job and lost their reputation. And the second one was learning. So he would tell us, you want to go for a dance class, you want to go for an education class, enroll. Go and do it. He said, that's going to be your dowry. I'm not giving you any money. So with that, we went into life with that in our head. And I must say, we acquired a lot of talents during that time. Sadly, my dad passed away when I was just 16 years old. So studying at IIT Mumbai, then catering college with Tangam Phil at the helm. And again, Shirin and Laxmi will back me up on this. It was the ultimate in discipline, absolutely the ultimate in discipline. This 4 feet something lady ruled with an iron hand and commanded respect bordering on fear from the students, the staff, and even the giants of the hospitality industry at the time. Anyone who was part of that era will definitely remember this. So my first job was at the Ambassador Hotel. Now that was a lesson in being responsible for oneself. Being on time, completing the tasks, and most of all, learning to exert self-discipline when dealing with the operational staff. Like, you were really young at the time, and also dealing with colleagues and guests. At 20 years old, that's really a lot to absorb, and there were a lot of mistakes. I'd say there was one lifetime mistake, because I met my now husband Prashant, and we've been married for almost 4 decades. So that was my job stint. And then Ms. Philip asked me to return to the alma mater and teach. I wasn't too sure whether I should follow in the footsteps of the family profession, but I did, and there began my lifelong role as a hospitality educator. Now, when I started, there was no difference between me, my age, and the age of the students. I remember this really funny incident. there was something called a food service management course. I don't know if Lakshmi will remember that. And there were people who were in the industry who needed that last promotion, so they were sent to do this 6 months course. And there was a guy who walked up to me after the class and he says, you know, I have a daughter as old as you. It was a really funny situation. To establish any kind of credibility, you had to be self-disciplined so that you could maintain discipline in class. First and foremost, being on time. Then being prepared for the class. No partiality when evaluating students. You know, I think all of us know how students can try to butter you up. I think it's something that you shouldn't really fall for. And following grooming standards. Now, I erred on this big time. My idea of comfort was not being wrapped up in a white sari. I was almost always on a verge of a wardrobe malfunction. Almost always. And my hair, the less said about it, the better. To date, as you can see, it never stays where I intended to be. But, well, I got by on those things. And I think after 10 years of teaching, I received the Sangam Philip Foundation Award. And I traveled with my family to the UK and Europe, visiting hospitality institutes and hotels. It was really an eye-opener of how the Western world was at the time. As Shirin said, you know, otherwise you had to wait for somebody to give you a magazine or get you a film or something of that sort. So this was like really live and really shocking. There were things happening there which we would never have dreamed of. But it's not like that today, but at that time it was. I made friends, and many of them are still my friends today, especially the ones who were in the housekeeping field. Now, to teach the same syllabus, Laxmi will back me up on this. And I think Deepika was also somewhere in the audience. So they back me up on this. To teach the same syllabus for 3 decades can become very tedious. So the trick is to find better ways of implementing the lesson plan. So some of the things, as Lakshmi was telling you earlier, Shubhra, included creating voice recordings. I don't know how many of you will remember a cassette recorder, which was some horizontal thing which you kind of talked into. Video recordings with a device which looked like a machine gun, a huge, impossible thing, and slide presentations, not like we have PowerPoint today, but those small little Kodak slides which you pushed from one side to the other side, and then later on there was a update on that. You had a carousel which kind of put the slides in. It was a quest for going beyond the classroom. So you would volunteer to spearhead a syllabus committee, just to be on that committee. Subra, you are in a better time. The syllabus once upon a time had a whole topic of textiles, which went into warp, weft, weaves, twill weave, all kinds of things. That's because the people who taught it were from a home science background. I must have, I don't know how many times, taken it out of the syllabus, it came back again. Again, take it out of the syllabus, again it came back. It was a crazy situation. So yeah, we tried to make it more updated. And I also used to conduct training programs in the institute. That's why Lakshmi said I taught her 3 times. One was that program in the middle. Seizing opportunities to give like guest lectures. I think the favorite one was flower arrangement. Must have done for so many other institutes. And serving on the core committee of the HCIMA, which was then a very prestigious UK-based association, and also a trainers forum. So these were things, attending conferences, attending workshops, and I think the one that I really loved most of all was writing articles for professional publications. Though housekeeping was a course I taught, it became pretty evident for me that my forte lay in the pedagogy of teaching. So I first learned about this certified hospitality educator workshop of the American Hotel and Lodging Educational Institute from my professor, and again, everybody knows him, Mr. Ismay Combs. He was the first IHM sponsored candidate from our college. So he said, you must do it, it's just you have to do it. So my heart was, set on attending this rather expensive workshop, but there was a seniority lineup for the nomination. So I decided I'm not waiting in line for this to happen. So I kind of self-sponsored myself, or to be more precise, husband sponsored. And I think that was the best decision of my life. And after that, I became quite unstoppable in creating different kinds of ways of teaching. I implemented all the teaching tools that I learned, which until then were just experiments in the classroom. But then you realize that yes, this is the way to go. And a few years later, I was invited by Mr. K.V. Simon, who was our ex-vice principal and the representative of the AHLEI in India, to be the co-facilitator for this workshop. And this workshop has taken me to places out of India, like Dubai, the Maldives, the Sri Lanka and Bhutan, and I am now the chief facilitator for Southeast Asia. So this was a real big jump in my life. Then, as Laxmi said, with all the pressure to qualify as a graduate, I enrolled in Indira Gandhi National Open University to study the only thing that I possibly am good at, the English language. So at 50 years, I graduated with a first class at the same time as our daughter. Amidst all these hospitality adventures, I resigned from IHM Mumbai just short of becoming head of department, and went to Rajkot, venturing into a school education system. It was called the Galaxy Education System, and coincidentally, the director was also a participant in that CHE program when I did it. He since then had moved on into school education. Now the comfort zone, that term that everybody uses, like inverted commas. Everyone
Hello?
feels that away from home, never been good. So, strange language. So you have to, I couldn't possibly learn Gujarati. I'm married to a Maharashtrian for 40 years. I still don't speak Gujarati. So where am I struggling with the language and the English language? We spoke the S's and the SH's and the E and the E. It was a big challenge. A different culture, completely altogether. Vegetarian food. At the moment, I'm a vegan, but at that time it was difficult. And then Rajkot, being Rajkot, you had temperatures, really mercury rising temperatures. You would always die for that glass of beer, but no such luck. You would have to make do with a glass of chas instead. I recall one of my teachers whom I trained telling me that, saying at the last event that they had, farewell event for me, he raised a glass of chas and said, this is Kathiawadi vodka apparently, and raised a toast. So it was completely a different thing, and then it was a school education system. I had no clue of anything about it except what I might have gleaned from my mother and my sister, who were both school teachers. Added to it, I was battling the grief of losing my mom just a month after I left to work in Rajkot. And I, were it not for self-discipline, it is most likely that I would not have survived and let alone succeeded. Now, there again, at a very, very disciplined director, Mr. Kiran Baloria, who is the epitome of change. He still is. Sometimes the changes that he implemented was so quick that we were like struggling, desperately trying to catch up with it. But it was one of the best learning experiences of my life. Art and music, which have been inherited talents, were put to good use throughout. Extracurriculars, activities of the students, we all know how that goes. Staying in touch with these hobbies and playing for the college choir, conducting the college choir, making decorations for the events. So always stayed in touch with that. So that's one of the things that you should never give up on your talents. When I returned to Mumbai after going to Rajkot, I was without a job. I took up part-time teaching and I returned to publishing articles in professional magazines. I had a few job offers. Nothing seemed to be something that I would be happy doing. And then it happened. The freak accident where I snapped the bones of my left ankle. I had to fight for my life and my leg. I could speak volumes on how I survived. But I think Staying Alive became my anthem at that moment. So there was a change of song briefly. Ironically, while being wheeled out from a post-operation X-ray, I received a job offer. Now, that's not the place that you really receive a job offer when you're lying flat on your back, not knowing what's going to happen next. Somewhat reluctantly, I accepted that offer from Mr. B. Pisani. He used to be my student in IHM to join the opening team for the Sheila Raheja Institute of Hotel Management. It took a long time for me to be able to walk without assistance. It was thorough discipline of mind and body that might have got me back. And of course, I owe it to my job and those 10 students in the first batch for literally putting me back on my feet. It would be remiss to say that my recovery was not supported by so many people, my family, friends, and students. A new opportunity came my way from the Clean India magazine that I frequently contributed articles to. Now, some of the people who are watching this would know. It was the International Housekeepers Summit, which they started 5 years ago. I was an integral part of this IHS planning committee, creating sessions, organizing speakers, and it has gone from strength to strength. It's been attended by about 300 housekeepers from across Asia. And yes, Laxmi has been a participant in that. Now, Laxmi always says that I'm her role model. So, the 2017 summit, I was pushed into anchoring the show. And that too with my leg not fully recovered. A couple of years later, was it Laxmi? She was invited by me to be part of be a speaker on one of the panel discussions. And you really didn't have to break your leg, just because I'm your role model. So she attended that. She attended that and clambered onto the stage with a stick. And I was like, "What happened to you?" So she's saying, "Ma'am, I'm following in your footsteps." Not fair. So educators rarely receive awards. I think they've only just started giving for chef educators and things. So it was a very pleasant surprise to be presented a Lifetime Achievement Award for training in the hospitality sector at the 2016 International Housekeepers Summit. The following year, I retired from SRIHM. For the last time, I stood on the stage to anchor a valedictory function. What was already an emotional event became even more emotional when the students gave an unforgettable speech and presented me with the Best Teacher Award, Student's Choice. I now live in Talegaon, presumably retired, but not really. Continue to be involved in the industry events, writing and pursuing my neglected hobbies. But I still have a structured day. Like Shirin said, if you let go, you're gone. So I have a structured day, and I really feel that discipline is necessary here in order to stay sane, especially with this virus wandering around us. I am following something called a Freedom from Diabetes program, which is promises to bring us to zero medicine. I have not been much on exercise and dieting, all those kind of things. So obviously now it's taken its toll. But yeah, we're completely vegan. And we have a doctor monitoring us, Dr. Mrinalini, who she monitors our blood sugars 3 times a day, our diet, what we're eating, what we shouldn't eat, what we can eat, and they're completely vegan, which is a hard thing for somebody who's a hardcore non-vegetarian. So now I have told you my story, and hopefully you could have derived some nuggets of advice. But let me stress on some of those what you're calling mantras. So here it goes, and many of them will be echoes of what Shirin has said. 1. Always do your best and don't expect praise or appreciation for anything you do. When you work in a government job, your performance is hardly ever considered. It's just promotions are by seniority, that's it. So be self-motivated and find satisfaction and pride in a job well done. I was fortunate to have bosses who really appreciated my work, each and every one of them. But everyone is not so lucky. Two, what you know is a minute percentage of what exists. And Shirin will back me up on that. You will never know everything, so it's better you be a lifelong learner. Learn from everyone, juniors, old people, young people, anybody, and everything around you. And stay mindful of what is happening around you. Three, and I love this one. There is no such thing as being bored. You have no right to be on this planet if you cannot find things that interest you and keep you happily occupied. I always remember my mother on this one. When the grandchildren would say, Nana, we are bored, she would have gone to them and say, I'm 85 and I have never been bored in my life. 4. Be innovative. Even if it means breaking the norm and doing things differently, nothing is set in stone. We live in a changing world, and as one training expert said to me, we must practice the ARM policy, not the mangoes that are in season currently. It's an acronym for accept, adapt, and move on. First and foremost, if you were to take this virus thing that's going around, accepting what is happening is the first thing that you need to do. And then you adapt, to suit the circumstances. And moving on, the most difficult thing in all the three of them, because you keep going backward and forward, and you don't exactly move on unless you really leave it all behind. 5. Uncover your creativity and explore it. Sing. Play an instrument, dance, draw, paint. Everyone has a creative streak. You may be having a weird creative streak, but what the hell? Any creative pursuit keeps your brain active. Don't worry that you are not good enough. The woods would be very silent if the birds that sang there were only the ones that sang the best. 6. This is my forte and everybody out there knows it. Develop a sense of humor. A sensitive one, and one that enables you to laugh at yourself. Be able to see the funny side of things, and doing that can keep you out of depression. It can develop positivity, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. And the added bonus is that you will become quite popular. 7, and that's the last one. If you are in a space, and I say this especially to anybody who might be in education, if you are in a space where you have to enforce discipline, do it judiciously. I know a lot of my colleagues resorted to some very unpleasant things bordering on corporal and ridiculing kind of punishment. That is not discipline. It's more of a release of frustration. So there it is. And now I would like to share a snippet of the commencement speech delivered by Neil Simon, which reiterates maxims that I have lived and continue to live by. The theme was, be true to yourself. He said, don't listen to all those who say, it's not done that way. Maybe it's not. But maybe you will. Don't listen to those who say, you're taking too big a chance. Michelangelo would have painted the Sistine floor, and it would surely have been rubbed out by today. Most importantly, don't listen when the little voice of fear inside you rears its ugly head and says, they're all smarter than you out there. They're taller, blonder, prettier, luckier, and they have connections. I firmly believe that if you follow a pathway that interests you, not to the exclusion of love, sensitivity, and cooperation with others, but with the strength of conviction that you can move others by your own efforts, and do not make success or failure the criteria by which you live, the chances are you'll be a person worthy of your own respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Priyali says, thank you so much for an amazing session, and thanks for sharing this session. A couple of us couldn't join in the call, but thankfully we have a recording that we would be sharing on the group, that they would be able to take in from each one of your learnings. I have a question again to all three of you, and I would like to understand. Shireen ma'am, you mentioned about self motivation. So did Sule ma'am, and in a way, Lakshmi you as well. When you said that please do not go ahead and expect anything, and carry on the way that you should be moving. It's the satisfaction that you get. But often, ma'am, right from our childhood, we have been taught, that this appreciation factor comes in. Like, in a family gathering, you are told to sing a rhyme or perform something, and everyone then applauds for you. So that expectation builds right from the childhood that if I do something good, there will be, an applause given. So, what did you do when you did not receive that applause and you kept your own self motivation high? Would you like to throw some strategies what you did to overcome, resentment, grievance when you saw people not appreciating? And I would request all three of you to share your thoughts on the same, beginning with Shireen Han.
I think it's a question of change of mindset. You change how you think about it, and you try and get satisfaction from a job well done. So if you know that you've done something really well, actually there comes a time when maybe the boss doesn't appreciate, but you will get a lot of appreciation from somebody else, maybe a colleague, maybe someone very junior down the line, who will come up to you and say, ma'am, this is excellent what has happened. And you get a lot of satisfaction from that.
Sure, sure. Salema?
Uh, Subra, there is appreciation and appreciation. Okay, I know that. Let's say Kangam Philip. If she said this is good, there was always a but attached to it, and there would something else would come out. So it would be impossible, that there wasn't that second half coming into that. In contrast, I worked with Mr. Kevin Simon, and he was all full of praise. For anything that you did, he was just, oh, it's wonderful, it's fantastic, it's marvelous. I feel that with Miss Philip, you always got that criticism which made you do better. Whereas if somebody tells you you're wonderful and fantastic and you know you haven't put in your best effort, you stay right there, you don't go any higher than that. So sometimes appreciation also needs to be, as a teacher also, you should be a little bit judicious and not rave about stuff which is not all that great. That kind of balance is good. But I don't think I ever had, anybody raving about. I don't think. I just think that I used to do it well, and then I would hope that, it would work. It's not about somebody saying it's a good job. You can see whether it's a good job or not.
Sure. Thanks, Lakshmi.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. I think, when you're younger and in the initial stages of your career, you're looking for these. You're looking for appreciation. You're looking for those external motivators. But as you grow in your careers with experience, I think there comes a time when you say, damn, nothing matters. What matters is you put in your efforts, and how does it make you feel. And there's a gentleman, management consultant. He was an HR manager for a very long time, Mr. Subramaniam Iyer. So he said, your organization gives you a grade or a post that you work for, and designation. Yeah, that's the right word. It gives you a designation that you work, let's say, from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 in the evening. It says there is time beyond that also. What do you do for yourself? That should be your motivator. And that was something that I really liked. And they said, yes, the organization gives you a grade and they expect you to work on certain parameters. That is one part of you. But then that's not all of you. You also have another part of you which you can, drive it yourself. And you are the motivator, you are the creator, you are the cheerleader. Everything is you.
Sure, thank you so much. We've already overshot time. It's 4:23, but I think we can take one question, which comes from, there's a person who has not been able to log in back, but has shared on message. says there are goals that we make, but we are unable to execute those. Any strategies that can be shared for execution and staying on track? Lakshmi, will begin with you because you are on the screen.
Oh, uh, for goals, I think
Yeah,
I think we should use the what you say. We must use the WOOP technique for achieving your goals. Now, what is this WOOP? Your W stands for the wish that you make. Okay, whatever wish you have. O is the outcome. What is the outcome that you want to get out of it? And the second O there is the obstacles. Please list down all the obstacles and then you plan. And your goal, all of us have learned about smart goals. So please use WOOP every time. It can be for very little things or very large. That really works. What is
sure.
the outcome that you want? Your wish, the outcome, the obstacles, and then you do the planning.
Sure. Shireen ma'am, your thoughts for the same? And what did you do to overcome?
Well, I think one needs to understand and study why you're not able to execute the plan.
Yeah.
Is it something that you have not done or not completed, or is there some external reason? If it's an external reason, is there some way to overcome it? So you need to analyze the reason why you're unable to reach your goal. Like she said, why were you planning that in the first place? So what were your obstacles? Why were you not able to do it? And how will you overcome those? Do you need help from someone else? Do you need some external advice? What is it that you require? I think that is how I would go about it.
Sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. Sule ma'am, quickly to you.
I would say I endorse what Shirin says about analysis. I would also say that sometimes we create goals which are so enormous, we forget to break them down into small parts. So if you break them down into small parts, the more likely to progressively achieve them. That would be my strategy.
This last one question, I think it is very pertinent to take it and hear what Shireen ma'am would have to say for this. Ma'am, there's a question from Piali. She asks, how do you want to motivate people who have just lost their jobs due to this pandemic?
I know our industry has been very, very badly hit. Most hotels are closed, places are closed. It's difficult to say how to motivate, but if you have an alternate that you can take up in the interim period, if you have another skill, then do try and look for opportunities over there. Hospitality industry has gone through bad times over and over again. Something or the other has happened. Of course, not as bad as this, but try and see if there is some other avenue that is open to you. Something that keeps you going till the industry picks up again.
Sure. And ma'am, this is an extension of the question. How do you foresee, what is the timeline that you foresee, hospitality could revive?
Personally, I don't think till sometime middle or end of next year.
Sure, sure. Noted, ma'am. And Piali, I hope your answers been given. Thank you again for sharing, such beautiful insights with all of us. There is, quite a few of congratulatory messages and thank you notes that we have received from each of our attendees here. Once again, I will put across a summary of the entire event and share the recording link with each of the registrants who had signed up for the session. Thank you again, Ms. Batliwala, Ms. Sule, and Ms. Todiwan. I truly appreciate for all of us being here today and learning from each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Subra.
Thank you, ma'am.